let's get started there. Like, because obviously we met like through your work at Cage Miles. So obviously you've been experimenting there, but I know through our conversation, like right now, you were telling me that you've been experimenting a lot. And usually, you experiment because you want to find something that works, or you want to have kind of an end goal you want to get to. So that's what I was curious about is what's your vision there? Like, do you have some sort of goal you want to reach with all that stuff?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a world where you have a garage filled with half-built projects, and I want to move beyond that. I think
Yeah.
that the ideation phase is kind of where I'm at right now in terms of where I build long term. And the garage with half-built projects is how I'm actually getting there because I can actually learn how to use the tooling and can better understand its capability by experimenting. I think over the long haul, I really want to build my voice as an authority in the legal like RevOps space,
Nice.
and ultimately kind of with the vision of expanding matter types or practice areas and having a broader, more holistic voice in the legal community from a RevOps perspective, because I think it's an underrepresented role in the legal world. So that's a big part of where my head's at right now is how do I set myself up long term in order to do that
Mm,
and build the systems that will allow me to do that. But I'll always be an experimenter and noodling on different ideas that unlock new ideas.
I know. Yeah. I mean, obviously we don't really know the pace of change, how it's going to evolve. It's going to accelerate, like what's going on, because, the capabilities of the model seems to be like slowing down a little bit, but it sounds like doing experiments, especially when it's like moving fast is really something that's going to be ongoing, right? Like if you just stop learning stuff and just tinkering around, uh, yeah, I mean, you just might stay stuck in some sort of, era or with some different tools. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that as it's a wormhole, and as I continue to play, I continue to learn, and then it actually changes the scope of my thinking as I experiment. So the tools become more powerful the more I tinker with them because I'm only scraping the surface of what they're capable of. And every feature unlocks a new feature and makes your understanding a lot more holistic and robust.
Yeah. So do you feel like how do you feel about that? Like, because I'm assuming, you were saying you have a lot of half finished projects. And I'm assuming maybe yeah, you're using a tool and you're like, oh wow, I thought I could do that, but turns out, I can do something even more powerful with this tool. Like how I'm guessing it's kind of distracting, right? How do you make sure you're staying on your path of like, being that voice in the legal industry that you were talking about, and not just being like, oh, I'm just going to maybe make a game right now because like that sounds fun, and like
Yeah.
how that yeah, how do you feel about that?
I think sitting down and actually coming up with a big picture vision that you're committing to is a big part of it. I think that all of the other projects are like more, I built a lot of internal tools, but a lot of like those are part of the discovery of actually knowing and understanding where you want to put your energy because we don't have infinite hours in a day. I do feel like I have enough of an understanding of the capabilities that I can sit down and say, okay, cool, this is actually where I'm going to put my energy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have like that vision is like clear for you of how you want to act on it and all that stuff now that you have tried a bunch of things?
Feel like I've had clarity along the way and it continues to evolve. So I'm not certain that I do. I feel like I do right now, but if I've learned anything in the past couple months, I think it's that it's like a constant evolution and
Yeah.
the world is our oyster. And so like I might get inspired to do an additional project or something like that. But I feel good about sitting down and actually thinking through and ideating on ideas before actually going in and doing it. For example, I
Hmm.
wanted to build this newsletter, this AI newsletter. And really it was kind of a tool for me because I read 6 other newsletters and I just want to read one newsletter. And then I realized that there's already 6 AI newsletters. Why do I need an AI newsletter? You just continue to evolve and ideate as you go sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, I mean, I guess that's the name of the game, right? You just have to be comfortable with maybe you have like a vision that's at least directionally correct, and then you need to be open to changing your mind based on new
Right.
information, right?
Totally. Totally.
Yeah,
And I think that that's like adaptability is a huge part of what makes you successful. If you're stuck on one particular idea or not open to new inputs or new feedback, then you can get stuck in that way of thinking. I want to keep an open mind, but try to channel focus in areas that I think will materially benefit me long term. Put my energy there if I can.
nice. Yeah, I mean I mean great that you have this vision. Like, I mean you could have said also. I feel like also part of it is probably you're having a lot of fun. Is what I'm getting at as well. You have that vision, but it sounds like you have it. You're just like
Yeah.
really enjoying like digging through
Yeah.
those and building some stuff.
Yeah, it feels like building feels like video games to me, where
Yeah,
beating the level is unlocking a new feature and beating the game is ultimately finding product market fit
yeah,
or adoption with a really positive use case. So I think that that's really what fuels the motivation is like winning is building or building is winning. And it's a video game.
yeah. That's a great way to see it. Love it. Also, like, yeah, I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on games and stuff like that, and I love seeing that mindset. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I want to go back to what you were saying about, ideating, because I found as well that, sometimes you might get excited about something and then you just jump straight into, building it. But, obviously, and I don't know, like, super well what your technical level is, but like, for example, I was building this website and then I was realizing like, hey, if I don't know at least the frameworks that I want to use for the specific website and the very rough basics, web development, then it's just, you know, the AI just spins like in a loop a lot of the
Yeah.
times. So I'm wondering like how do you go about that and how helpful is that for you and to just build with those tools, that ideation part?
I think that I definitely am the person that has the idea and just starts building immediately.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to be a little bit more disciplined as I'll come up with a new idea every day and I'm trying to apply some level of discipline. I don't think that there's a really great layer on top of GPT to help people flush out ideas. I think it's like a little bit too agreeable with your ideas rather than being a devil's advocate. So I
Yeah.
think prompting it in a way to help you think through piece by piece and to actually play devil's advocate is
Mhm.
a really good place to start. I think I like identified a little bit of a framework yesterday actually where I walk through like idea validation, problem discovery, market analysis, competitive intelligence, customer validation, business model, design, MVP planning. I think that that's the context that's required to get closer to like a single shot kind of world where
Mhm.
you have a fully fleshed out idea. The LLM is playing devil's advocate and helping you think through what you need to build, identifying the tooling that you can use, and then ultimately coming up with a prompt to help you build the architecture for it. And I'm trying to be more disciplined about doing that because I'm realizing that I don't have infinite bandwidth. But I do think that that's a decent framework to get started with and one that an ideas person needs to follow in order to not be drowning in 20 different projects.
So, I mean, from what I'm hearing and the framework that you shared, it really is like, hey, I have this idea I'm excited about, but let's run it through a checklist in terms of if it's not for some sort of internal purpose. I mean, I guess it could probably be, but it's like in the market, who would be interested and like what kind of demand is there for this specific solution, right? So I guess, yeah, I was saying you could probably use that internally as well, because in the end, there's always some person using it, right? So they need to be wanting to use it because you can't really force anyone to just use a system, right? So,
Right, exactly. And I don't know where in the culture of building this like framework needs to get embedded into. I think that it's hard to resist the temptation to just get into a project like Lovable or Replit and just start saying stuff without really thinking it through. And then you have a project and you're excited and you start going for it. But people can save a lot of hours and pain and money by just sitting down and really thinking through their ideas first.
So you'd say like that's that your thinking is like, hey, I have all these ideas, but let's just work on the ones that are either commercially viable or can help the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or are just super fun. Like I'm okay with building fun stuff too.
Yeah.
I think that there's like a world for creativity and fun, and I want to keep some open space for that. But yeah, I think that I'm at the point now where I want these projects to have a financial impact for me over the long term, and setting them up with that intention, I think, is where my head's at right now currently.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting because I wasn't at first thinking about it through that lens. Like I was thinking about it through more like a technical, like, hey, how to build that a solution, in a robust manner and that you have performance. But I think I mean, obviously it just totally makes sense to be like if you have like 20 ideas, not to just like, start chasing them all, but
Yeah.
thinking through like, hey, let's just like focus on what has the highest impact,
Right.
or the potential of impact financially, right? So
Right.
yeah. And I guess that probably, I mean, I've personally been using like PRDs, so like, giving as much context as possible. But I'm assuming that even giving the business context is probably like super key because that's going to inform, you know, I mean, obviously like user experience, but probably like the architecture of the app, how robust it needs to be, how fast it needs to be, and things like that, right? So yeah.
Right.
So did you test it out, or is it just because you said you came up with it yesterday, right? Or
Yeah. I came up with an idea yesterday and actually like applied the framework, and it's a really long term sort of concept that's very SEO driven. So
Mhm.
it's hard to like validate the short term assumptions around profitability because
Yeah,
I'm probably not even in a world where I can action on what I'm building if I were to generate leads. But I do think that I'd be setting it up the right way so that if and when I wanted to pursue that, I could.
nice.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's like identifying like how much traffic there is for specific keywords that you have, and
Yeah,
potentially like the kind of products or services you want to share with those people.
right.
Yeah,
At what point can you get the site up to X visitors with X conversion rate, producing X leads with Y conversion rate? And what is the average deal size for those? How many hours would I need to spend on it? That kind of thing. I think if
yeah.
I got it to a point where that math actually made sense, I would probably hop in.
I mean, you could probably like even if if you get some traffic, then like obviously I don't know what the conversion rate would be or like who those people are, but let's say like people that are looking to buy a solution or something, and you still again get some validation by I don't know jumping on a call with them, even if you don't have a problem, right? Just like
Right.
getting their opinions on, or just like doing some discovery calls, and then like you don't have to wait that long, right? So then to
That's a good point. Like I could just be a voice in the space and do discovery
yeah,
calls and learn that way. I could probably really accelerate my learning curve just by doing discovery calls, but not doing the work, but more so approaching it as like an academic
yeah,
and a networking opportunity.
yeah, because then I'm like, because otherwise like okay, like how much time are you going to wait to get your traffic,
Hmm.
to a certain space, and then spinning up like doing some tests on potential products and stuff like that. Whereas like if you actually, because that's a problem, right? If you just send traffic but you just don't know what people think or what's going on, right? And there's
Right.
all these so far you can go with metrics in terms of oh they're clicking here or there or whatever, right? Whereas like actually jumping on a call and being like who are those people, right? Like
Right.
what's their role and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I guess that like when you think about ideating and having a feedback loop and iterating on what you're building, that is kind of the input that you need. So that's, I actually haven't really gotten there in my thought process yet, but I like that.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I have like this small website as well, and it's like it's games, it's like games in French. And I was like, how do I monetize that? But then it's just like I just know people to come on the website and play. But
Yeah.
then I'm like, how I need to talk to those people. Otherwise, it's like I could spin up and like I could be like I could just sell them board games or I could sell them this. But then it's like, how many experiments do I have to do in order to get to a decent place?
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning because I'm like, yeah, if I could get on the call with those people and just like,
Yeah.
hey, what are you doing? Like, what's your life and what are you trying to
Right.
achieve? And yeah,
Right. What do those games do? Like like you call them French games, but like is it just games in a French language or?
yeah, it's like it's more games like classic games, stuff that have been around for like ever, like Hangman and Solitaire. I have like Sudoku as well. I just bought a bunch of what you call domain names, so I have like Sudoku game but in French. They'll like
Cool.
come. And I have a bunch of other things like that, like crosswords and all the stuff. They haven't developed their like Mahjong as well, but I haven't
Oh.
developed those ones. But yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. Yeah, I've never talked to those people. Like the first one, the Hangman, is created by pure AI. Like like 2 years ago, I was like, oh, I'm just going to try that. It's like I was like, dude, it works. It's crazy. And
Right.
yeah, right now I'm refactoring it to make it better, but there's like I think like a couple of thousands of people like coming every month on the website. So I'm like
Oh wow.
lit- literally done like it is pretty passive. Like I think I changed the copy here and there based on the Google Search Console. But yeah, it keeps coming on. So pretty
I
crunch.
made a fortune as an affiliate for Chat Roulette back in the day, and he was running
Nice.
affiliate ads for commodities, so like allowing people to buy gold and silver and stuff
Oh
like
well,
that.
yeah,
But that could be really interesting where, rather than like a pay to play sort of model, it's just like focus on the traffic and serve ads and make money as an
yeah.
affiliate.
Yeah, I mean, I have ads on that Hangman one, but I don't know what Google Ads is a bit weird. It's just like it's very aggressive in terms of ads. So I'm like I'm probably going to change the way it's done. Like, probably after the third game you get an ad or trying to do a subscription thing. Like,
Right.
uh, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. But
That's
I
cool.
mean,
I
yeah,
like that idea.
yeah. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but it's the same. Like, I can't. It's still a shot in the dark, right? Like until I really get some conversation with people. Like it's trying to
Thanks for
that.
sharing that parallel. That makes me kind of think about what I'm doing a little bit differently.
Nice. Yeah, well, let me know if you end up like getting hundreds of people like on a website and chatting with them. That would be pretty cool.
I bet you by the end of the year, I'll have at least had 1,000 unique visitors, bare minimum.
Nice.
That's not very many. It's a very like niche
Yeah,
concept, but mark my words, 1,000 unique visitors by the start of 2026.
let's do it. I mean, I am surprised. I don't know if have you tried like because I've tried like the data for SEO. Like I think something I was doing is, and obviously I haven't tested it out too much, but asking Perplexity to give you a bunch of keywords and then validating those keywords based on, data and then getting the volume, the difficulty of the keyword and the cost per click.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and then, like just understanding how you can build the slug and all that stuff and the keywords you can target. It was like, I was surprised. I was like, that was super fast, a couple of API calls through Cursor and the MCP. So I'm like, yeah, I feel like, if you have good content and you have, very low difficulty keywords, like what you're saying doesn't seem so, ambitious really or unattainable.
Right.
So
I agree.
yeah.
It feels pretty conservative to me. That's why I feel good about promising that I'll have 1,000.
Yeah. Maybe you should raise that number. You want a
Maybe,
rookie
maybe.
number.
It's a pretty niche audience. So like 1,000 of like the right eyeballs could be really valuable.
Yeah,
But TBD, we'll see.
nice. Pretty excited for you, man.
Thanks.
Um, cool. So kind of like want to switch gear a little bit because I know, and I don't know, you tell me if it's appropriate to ask you that and chat about that. But I guess a big part of you also doing experiments is to introduce, AI or those different systems like in your work. So I'm just curious about, you know, what kind of conversation and maybe like, what people are excited about or what people are skeptic about. Um, like how are you thinking of tackling those?
Yeah. Um, a lot of what I've been working on with AI inside of the law firm is focused on repackaging data in a way that makes it easier for people to ingest and
Hmm.
use. So whether that's reporting or in the CRM instance, a lot of what I'm doing is just taking data, manipulating it, and making it easier for users to interact with, which goes a long way. When
Hmm.
you're looking at these instances where there's potentially 100 different unique structured properties in a HubSpot deal, how do you actually pass that over to somebody? How do you report it in a dashboard in a way that a non-business person can understand? That's been a huge focus area and kind of where I'm seeing a lot of the aha moments of like, oh wow, we can actually do this without committing to a $50,000 build and a $10,000 licensing fee.
Hmm.
But those products in the legal world are kind of the shiny objects right now of document preparation and automating a lot of the administrative tasks that paralegals and legal admins and legal secretaries perform, receptionists, things like that. Uh, I think that that's where most of the legal world views kind of like the utopia is automating document prep. But I think it's a lot harder to get them to adopt these things because of concerns around security and
Hmm.
privacy. So when you talk to any lawyer about implementing AI or even a legal consumer, that's really the biggest concern. And so trying to build around that sensitivity can be really sensitive for attorneys. So I'm still kind of figuring out some of the ways that we can actually build those future big, big, big projects in a way that is secure and private and
Hmm.
making sure that I actually have the domain expertise to effectively build those things and not compromise data. I'm not at a point right now in my learning curve where I feel comfortable owning those initiatives because it is so sensitive and you have to be very careful. But I'd like to aspire to. However, I'm going to assume that someone out there is building a product that is a lot better than what I'm capable of building. So it's likely that I'm kind of the internal advocate speaking to the value of these systems. And ultimately, we're going to probably get something that's off the shelf that the
Yeah.
rest of the legal community is doing because they need that validation of, okay, everybody else is using it. That means it's private and secure. I could
Yeah.
say it's private and secure. Even if it is, if other people aren't using it, that means risk. So I think that there's a huge nuanced sensitivity there that I have to navigate, and
Yeah.
I'll probably need to like step down on my ego a little bit and assume that we'll probably end up getting something that's off the shelf. But dare to dream. I don't know. I'll see where that conversation goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I'm guessing like the impacts of like data leak or anything like that is probably like pretty damaging, right? Like, or the consequences can be pretty dire. So
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've seen a guy. I don't remember what he was proposing, but and I think it was financial related. But yeah, it seemed to have like a solution because I guess usually what people would do is have your model on a private server, and then you just feed it your data, but everything
Mhm.
remains like nothing is sent over to OpenAI or Anthropic or Google or anything like that, right? Everything stays on your server. Then I guess it's probably something like that that eventually we need to happen, right, for those firms. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to having like a little bit more clarity about what sort of off the shelf products people can use and build on their own
Yeah.
with those safeguards built in. Um, we'll see.
Nice. Yeah, I guess right now it makes more sense to handle all the business data and all that stuff because it's still like super valuable, right? It's just like the operational part, not so much on the legal work, but the thing that I mean needs to happen to run the business anyways, right? So,
Exactly. I can
yeah,
still innovate pretty substantially without exposing any data, sensitive data to an
yeah,
LLM.
yeah,
So that's where I'm choosing to focus right now is because it's so sensitive.
yeah. Nice. How do you see? Because I guess that's the now that you're expanding your realm of capabilities in terms of development and what you can do with some of those tools, and you explore more and more, then I guess you have a choice that's a bit more difficult. I mean, it's exciting, but a bit more difficult is when do I buy something or when do I build it, Because then obviously, if you buy it, you might uh, be faster in terms of, okay, I might have to do a bit of onboarding, migration of the data and whatnot. Um, at the same time, you might be restricted, like HubSpot. Like, I guess if you really want to do everything in HubSpot, then you probably need to do like super complicated automations and stuff, right,
Mhm.
to get the specific data. But then you have the other side where it's like, okay, if you start building it yourself, well, your time is also valuable. So like how much time can you put in, developing that very custom thing? But
Right.
that might be buggy, so then you need to troubleshoot, and it just takes like, it might grow as a
Right.
monster. So like how how are you how are you feeling about that right now?
Yeah, I think that I would try to be really conservative in the approach. So if I was trying to build document prep, for example, I might choose to focus on one particular type of issue within one particular type of matter
Hmm.
within one particular type of role at the company.
Yeah.
So basically kind of taking a corner case and saying, hey, this is the framework. Let's build around this. Let's really, really understand it. Let's understand the needs of everybody who touches this one corner case. And let's just build that. And I think that by doing that, you can limit the scope
Yeah.
and probably help people understand the capabilities of some of these bigger models where you can have an aha moment like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. We did it for this corner case. You can probably ask better questions inside of the due diligence process with a tool that's off the shelf and understand what kind of features do you actually want. Because right now, I'm not sure that people know how to communicate or articulate that. But that would be my approach. If I did build it, it would be a corner case and something that I use to build trust internally and also to better understand, like help educate people of the capabilities of the modern tooling that isn't
Mhm.
just an LLM. I think like most attorneys and law firms are interacting with LLMs and saying that like LLM is AI, but really they're kind of operating at this like atomic level when or like they're maybe like operating at the molecule level, but whole entire organs and organisms exist. But they don't really know that and they won't know that until they see it.
Mhm.
But you could probably build like a small organ, and say, hey, look at this. This is actually, this is what AI actually is capable of doing for you rather than just, hey, I have a question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh yeah, you mean like specifically to like a part of law or something like
Mhm.
that, just like doing a bit more research type of thing rather than doing like something a bit more robust.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I
Because
mean,
like right
yeah.
now, the current understanding, or like most attorneys think that an LLM is like the end game.
Hmm. Yeah, because I guess currently, right, it's like ChatGPT is like pretty big. So I'm assuming like, there's a kind of a widespread adoption of, ChatGPT, but I would guess that probably 95% of people are just using it like kind of Google, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
hey, like I would like to know more about this, right? Rather than maybe doing stuff that are a bit more robust in terms of, generation of documents or even like search um, or just integrating into your workflow and
Right.
having
Yeah.
that support you, right? Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I think that's the right approach, right? Because that's what I'm finding as well. It works best. to interact with the an AI if everything is very structured, or the scope is fixed, or even like if you have something bigger that all the subcomponents are very detailed, then it's very straightforward to build or go through the use case.
That's one thing I appreciated about working with you, is actually sitting down for an hour before we kicked off the project and really diving into the details so that you could understand the scope and the breadth of context. I didn't do my part entirely of coming to the table with a super detailed plan. That's something that you have to budget for.
Yeah.
And you can do your best to get all the details, but at the end of the day, once you're mid project, some of those new details emerge.
Yeah. I I think what's been helpful for me is like, hey, let's do that PRD, just like blurt out everything you have, just like put it on the page, ramble like you've never rambled to the AI, and then just like produce that document. And then, maybe you're rereading everything and they're like, oh, actually there's that thing that I forgot. Because you always forget something, right? Or even what I've done sometimes, because sometimes we just don't have the time, so it happens by accident. But I'm like, oh, actually I should go back to that TRD, and then I'm like, oh, there's this super important component that we forgot, and I just ramble a bit more and kind of like,
Right.
makes the PRD even more robust. So I feel, yeah, it helps a lot, but inevitably I feel there's always like a little thing that, you missed, and you're like, oh, actually that detail is just like, went over my head. So I guess you need
Right.
to expect it, right? Especially if you're
Right.
working with other people, they're like touching like different parts of a workflow or project. Like you can't, you know, just cover all your bases in one shot.
100%. Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's why they say the devil's in the details. That's the devil in there.
Exactly. Cool. Maybe just like one last question. I'm curious, like there's lots going on, so maybe we can finish on that, in the AI world. How do you find yourself, cut through the noise? Because, obviously if you go on like Twitter or LinkedIn, like all those places, like it's always like SEO is dead, and this is like, going like this entire industry is going to be replaced or whatever. It's like all those workflows. So how do you see navigate all that noise basically, and all those different voices?
Challenging. I think that there is information overload right now.
Yeah.
I think that the information that I'm looking for has evolved. And this is like kind of lends itself to the newsletter concept,
Hmm.
where in the beginning, when I was subscribing to all these newsletters, probably I get an AI newsletter every single day from 5 different groups. And I in the beginning, I was really just looking for tutorial videos to understand the tooling. So I'm like, just show me a video of someone building something on this product, and I'll watch YouTube videos all day long so that I can understand what are the tools at my disposal. And then I got to the point where I did that enough to where I actually was like, okay, cool. I think this is my tool set. These are the tools I'm going to be using. I'm oriented now. Now I'm actually interested more in the model updates than I was originally. Originally, I actually wanted to filter out the model updates. I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, I don't know what any of that means. But once you understand the tooling, the model updates and the capabilities of those models can help you understand what you can unlock. Like an example would be ChatGPT dropping their open source model. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, that actually like has a ton of use case in these projects that I've ideated on while I was in the toolkit discovery phase. Or a new model coming out that is outperforming everything for language and translation. Oh, well, that could be really useful in the legal context.
Hmm.
So I think that to a certain degree, filtering is all about where you're at in your journey
Yeah.
and what you're looking to achieve. And so it's been a moving target for me. I haven't figured out a way to like properly filter it. I still read all 5 AI newsletters every day.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's probably a bit of curation in terms of like, from which source you get that data. But I think, and that's probably what I would recommend most people, is what you're doing. Essentially, it's just you're experimenting with the content, right? You're just like looking at the different tools, and then you're like, build an understanding of like, okay, what tools fit what I want to do. And then once you get that understanding, you're like, okay, this is the tool I'm going to use, like, Cursor or Supabase or whatever. And then, but it seems like it's still very action oriented in the terms of like, you still, you know, trying on those tools. And then once you get a deeper understanding, you try out more models and stuff like that. And then, you
Right.
just like build through that. And because I guess, people can say stuff, but until you really try it and look at it for yourself, you can't really know, how to separate the wheat from the chaff. So it looks like it's pretty robust approach. Obviously, it takes time, but that's the name of the game, right?
Yeah, right. I think that there were a lot of like really attractive PDFs and case studies and downloads, and these are the 50 tools that you need to be using, and this is how to best prompt this, that, or the other. And a lot of them are like lead gen baity tools, and I've been really
Yeah,
underwhelmed with reading them. I think that that's like probably the most distracting thing is these headlines that you click it, you submit your email, you get a document, and it's easy to get lost in those because a lot of those documents are really long, but they're all
yeah,
like regurgitated information oftentimes.
yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's why I kind of like rebooted that newsletter because the previous one I was doing was kind of this similar vibe, and I feel like nowadays there's just so much stuff that I really want to like talk to people like you, just like doing experiments and actually being like, hey, this is what I've tried and this is what works, like genuinely, because that's way more useful than oh, here's how I spun up like a 9-figure business with like 3 prompts or something like that.
Right.
And you're like, come on, man.
Great
Like,
example.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, cool. Well, I mean, it was great, man. Like, great conversation.